Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. And it just seemed too quiet on a Sunday to not do a spontaneous live with everybody. So I hope everyone's all right and y'all are doing well. Let's see who is in the chat. And by the way, I'm a little slow today. Not only is this normally not a day I do social media, I kind of take Sunday as my little internet Sabbath, if you will. But I've been woken up between 11 and 3 at night or slash in the morning for for the last week and a half, like every night. So by now my brain is gone and I'm kind of salty. So I was like, I have a breakfast meeting with a client tomorrow. I'm like, I'm going to bring a bunch of tacos. I'm going to eat and I'm going to go home and go to bed. And then I'll come back to the office at like noon and see if the boss will let that fly. Um, it was quiet. It was. I was looking because I'm like, all right, I got a few minutes. It's all quiet here. I'm gonna go see who's on, and nobody was on. Hey, Triple Threat, what's going on, Tarsha? And Virginia, hello, hello. Glenn is there, as we saw earlier. Sean, hey, welcome. Militant, perfect timing. And who else do we have in here? Coffee, hola. Who else did I miss? Anybody? Copycat, hello, hello, and Glenn. Merry Misfit. And I think that's it. Did I get everyone? So this is completely off schedule, and it's actually just shy of dinner time. So the dogs were freaking out earlier. They're like, "We must eat," and it's like it's not time yet. And you ate the stuff I spilled on the floor earlier, so you had bonus. But anyway, so folks, how is everyone doing today? Because the world is weird, but it's pretty cool to know at least there are other people like ourselves who realize something's weird, and at least we can commiserate as a group about the weirdness that's going on in the world. Uh, I got to tell you, it has been something else watching how things are going on, how things are being done by the global leaders, and you're wondering, what are you people thinking? Are you out of your freaking minds? Wait, hold on, it was rabbit season. I just flipped screens. It's rabbit season. It is rabbit season. So before we go any further, Mr. Joe was kind enough to share this. Oh, I lost the link. Oh, there it is. So we're gonna have to watch this because this is so apparently. Thank you, Joe, for sharing this. I'm gonna let me get this screen up and I will share this with all of you fine peeps. So this came from Guns and Gear actually. Let's see if we can share that tab. And can you guys see that? Yes. Okay. Awesome. Like I said, mentally. I'm running a little slow today. So let's see. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Let me know if you can hear this.
Welcome to Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. Quick video today in response to another video making the rounds in the gun tuber community over the last few days that is definitely hilarious. And I was going to make a
Can you guys
video
hear it?
mocking these supposed IRS agents in training with horrendous skills.
He is an idiot. We have purposely trained him wrong as a joke.
Which started making the rounds after a $80 billion budget increase and a 7,000 additional hires coming for the agency, which has been fact checked to say they're not all agents, but they are hiring 87,000 people with this money. And that pulled job posting for new agents about using deadly force to get their sweet, sweet tax revenue. However, it is a little bit of a too good to be true here because this video is actually from 2017 at Stockton College, where the IRS did show up to provide a day-long simulation, providing students with a first-hand look at what it is like for IRS special agents to come at people with firearms for tax purposes. This is apparently done throughout the nation and is brought to campuses by the IRS criminal investigation field offices So it's kind of an IRS training, but it's not actively training agents and more of an activity for students. They're apparently open to all students looking for alternative career paths in finance and accounting. But after seeing these skills on display, might I suggest lion taming instead?
Yes. Of course, it's a bit of a jump, isn't it? Accountancy to lion taming in one go. You don't think it might be better to work your way towards lion taming, say via banking?
That's all for today. Sorry to be kind of a party pooper here, but I don't want to make a fun video if it's done with false facts, even if it would be an easy target. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you are new here or haven't already. Share the video around so we can stop people from jumping on this one too much since it is not true. Check.
All right, so you guys kind of saw that. It was actually an older video, which is disappointing but funny at the same time. So 87,000 agents. So let's do the math on that because somebody was doing it earlier. Let me see if I can find my stupid little calculator. But so 87,000. No, not 8,700 knucklehead divided by 50 states. That's 1,740 new agents per. Hey, Texas Redleg, what's going on? Per state, which I don't know what they're planning to do with that. So yeah, this is I don't know, what are we doing? What are we doing? People can't afford chicken, and like we're hiring more federal agents to take money from small businesses, even though they say they're not. We all know that's what they're going to do. Right? You don't need 87,000 people to audit people like Trump and Bezos, right? How many billionaires and multimillionaires are they? No, they're gonna harass the crap out of small business. Um, it's been 5 years in the making. Yeah. Okay, so apparently my math, I failed at math. Like I said, for the record, I have been woken up in the dead of sleep for about 6 days in a row now. So now my brain is gone. So if you hear anything really moronic out of my mouth, it's just because I'm tired. It's a big magic beans type of scare thing. So there's a guy, I don't know if you guys have seen him, called Bobby Pop, and he is a trafficking survivor who also talks about no, he's not on YouTube. How sad. Um no, anyway, he basically said, well, what we need to do is send the 87,000 agents to Ukraine because they'll find our tax money over there. Uh, uh, yeah, if you so coffee, yeah. See, we used to own rental properties. My wife had a boutique in Houston, and they're going to go after people who are making a little hustle on Etsy. They're going to go after people who are baking goods and selling them on Facebook or selling them at the church farmers market. That's what they're after. What one person postulated was they're going to go after people for stupid amounts of money. Like, oh, well, we audited you and you owe $200. Well, who the hell wants to hire a lawyer for a $200 tab? You're just going to pay it so they leave you the hell alone, right? So when you do that, um, you take, $500, $1,000 a person times, you know, 200 million adult Americans, and you suddenly conjure up a lot of money. So yeah, wondering how we got past the '08 bubble. So yeah, I don't know, man. That's well, we're gonna have another one here shortly. I promise you. Your kid's unlicensed lemonade stand. Yeah, I'm too damn lazy to look. Fair enough. No, that works, Joe. For all we know, all their numbers are false anyway. So coffee, what I would recommend. So the IRS did change the deduction for mileage from 58.5 to 62.5 effective June of this year. Make sure if you guys have business mileage, you document it correctly. You have to deduct commuting from your house to your office. Now, if your home is your office, or like you have on your property, you have like a metal outbuilding, which is where you're, I don't know, like, I don't know what the business is. But let's just say you have lawn mowing or you do tree stump pulling or farming, whatever, and your property is the headquarters. Then you have zero commute. You can deduct a portion of your power, light, phone, internet, and even certain types of clothing against your federal taxes. Um, Make sure you deduct your mileage. Make sure it looks legit. Okay, don't put hinky stuff because that's what gets their attention. Um, a marble sharpener, all he does is drive. Okay, so in that way, no, maybe that's why they want to legalize booze or something. I don't know. Booze. Legalize drugs. I don't know how you legalize meth. They go and bite people. I mean, okay, so if he's a mobile sharpener, any repairs, also depreciation on the machinery, right? So if you buy a new piece of machinery, whatever it is, an X, you buy X this year, depending on the type of machinery, you can depreciate it 5 or 7 years, or you can write it off all in 1 year. Purely depends how you want to play it. For something smaller, like say a computer, right? You're looking at grand, 1,500. If you're going for a higher end computer, maybe two, you can deduct it that year and they take it off that year's taxes. But if it's something bigger like a F-250 or a tractor, something large, you can depreciate it over 7 years. Depending on it, what it is, I definitely would talk to an accountant. It would be worth paying the $200 for somebody who has a clue, because I know this more anecdotally. Anecdotally, hey, Oz, 0800, perfect. Caught the man at breakfast. Great. Um, yeah, I haven't had vodka in like 4 months, and today I needed vodka and Sprite. It was just, it's been one of those days. But yeah, coffee. Also, so you have a choice. You can either write off your receipts for oil changes, gas, and certain other things, or you just take the mileage. I've found if you take the mileage, because we were into real estate at one point as well, taking the mileage is enough to kind of cover the other things and leave you a little buffer for vehicle upgrades, stuff like that. So definitely educate yourselves, guys. We can't, all we can do is vote stupid people out of office. But um, hey, Oz, there's nothing wrong with vodka in the morning. But I would encourage all of you guys to educate yourselves a little more. If you have an elder that you're taking care of, they're technically your dependent. So, like if my mother-in-law decides to move in with us so we could keep an eye on her, I can cover her under my company medical as a dependent, even though she's my elder. You also get deductions for that. Get educated with how to work the system so you take the least hit. I use the analogy again like a boxer. You know, you're going to get punches thrown at you, but whether you get hit square or whether you roll with the punch depends on how you prepare. Um, but definitely, and if you guys want to email me questions, I don't know everything, but feel free to email. I'll try to answer somewhat intelligent. uh, okay, so going to Oss's comment. Last time we did a party weekend in New Orleans, we were out and we were actually catching all the jazz bands and we were hitting bar after bar. And of course, you drink and eat in all of them and you kind of get pie eyed. And we went to crash, and for whatever reason, the entire group of us woke up at 4 in the morning, right? And we're like, well, it's too late. The bars are closed officially anyway. So we went down to Bourbon Street and then we went to Jackson Street. And there's a restaurant in New Orleans on Jackson Street. They have the most epic French bread, bacon, and egg sandwich. I mean, it's like this big, and they just cut the loaf in half, put egg and bacon and other stuff. and they had fried crawfish for breakfast. And you had mimosas or hurricane breakfast hurricane, which had more juice and less sweet. And yeah, if you if you're gonna do breakfast booze, you got to do it right. But definitely, and if I find that recipe for that breakfast mimosa, I'll send it to you also. Okay, good. You do have an accountant because we know he is saying the same here. Okay, and coffee definitely. Do your own research because you may come across something that your accountant, because we're all human, right? They may not have thought of yet, and that may be something you can bring up and say, "Hey, can we write this off as well?" Also, if you know what you can and can't write off, it kind of dictates how you buy things, right? Because if I know, okay, if I'm upgrading equipment, maybe I'll buy I need more deductions this year. I'll buy the computer this year and write it off on my company. And then next year I'll buy like the jet ski or what. I mean, I'm just being silly, but you kind of get, I'm taking the business necessity when I need write-offs. Uh, but yeah, you can bring stuff up to these guys and girls who are your accountants and just tell them, hey, look, I need some help with this, or I saw this. What can we do with that? So, and yes, actually, so what they did, it was a French baguette style, but it was short. It was almost like the Italian bread, more than a baguette. They split it down the middle, scrambled eggs with crawfish in it, threw the bacon on top, which was just way over the top, a little bit of cheese, salt and pepper, and then they split it in three, and it was almost like a breakfast loaf. And then it came with the breakfast hurricane and some crawfish on the side, and you just kind of dipped. And we were all hungover, so the protein and carbs definitely were a positive thing. And hair of the dog, right? So I have visions of IRS issuing break into kids' pay. I don't know. I don't think they even know what those are, Joe. The IRS agents would struggle for that. But well, anyway, folks, so we've all been talking, we've been seeing a lot about Russia. We've been seeing a lot about Taiwan and everybody and China, and everybody's been worried. Well, shoot, what exactly what exactly is going on, and where can we learn? And those of us who have seen stuff, right? Because the millennials, everyone picks on the millennials, but a lot of millennials wound up in Afghanistan, in Iraq, right, with Gen X. Um, but I think the younger crowd now, this is all new to them. They didn't grow up with the original Red Dawn. They didn't grow up with 9/11. These 20-year-olds were little itty bitty kids uh, when 9/11 happened, and we all watched those towers come down. And so I've been trying to talk to the younger crowd at work, like, if we have a blackout, do you have a flashlight at home? And they joke with me. They're like, no, I'll just walk around in the dark. Yeah, whatever. Drunk. No. Do you have a freaking flashlight? Um, yeah, Wolverines. I'm humming the dreidel song, Joe. Uh, yes, I actually rewatched the new uh, Red Dawn. Um, the special effects were better, but the storyline was more stupid. The original one was a little more believable, if you will. Although Chris Hemsworth really tried in that movie. Uh, it was just the whole thing was not bueno. So I had a few fun ones we can watch. And I was going to play Bert the Turtle again, but I think we've kind of killed Bert the Turtle. So instead, I wanted to play a different one. Let's see what happened. The new one isn't too bad. No, it's not terrible. It's not a terrible movie. I didn't like Josh Peck. I thought Hemsworth fit his role, and the other kids fit their role. I would have chose someone different. Josh Peck looked kind of goofy to me, and it just annoyed me. But that's just me. I guess maybe I'm biased because of his previous role in kids movies. I'm like, yeah, no, you're a doofus. You're not supposed to be a tough guy. That just doesn't. But let's go see. Hold on a second here. I thought this one would be fun to, and I've probably played this one before. So can you see that? Yeah. It wasn't a terrible remake, but it was Josh from Drake and Josh. I don't see him. Yeah, it just didn't fit. I always saw him in this goofy roles. So I'm going to play this one for us, and let's see what we learn from some of this. I got a few good ones too. I got some really historical ones tonight. So let's roll with this one.
Facts about fallout.
Can you guys hear that? I love the dramatic classical music they used in all these 50s and 60s movies.
To begin with, it may be surprising to know that radiation is something we live with every day. It has always been with us. Our own sun, like each of our millions of stars, is a raging nuclear furnace that shoots out showers of tiny particles along with invisible rays that we call radiation. In an average lifetime, a person might expect to accumulate about 10 Roentgens, not enough to affect his health. We don't worry about these small amounts of natural background radiation. But to safely handle larger amounts, we must keep our distance and shield ourselves. For as the amounts increase, so do the dangers. The amount of energy generated by a nuclear explosion is enormous.
What I do like
Near the
is they were
trigger
very
area,
simple.
There is almost total destruction from blast and heat. Now large amounts of pulverized debris and molten earth are pulled up into the mushroom cloud. The radioactive atoms produced in the explosion join with the particles of earth and debris. The mushroom-shaped cloud forms and climbs higher. It now contains billions of highly radioactive particles that we call fallout. The winds of the upper altitudes blow on the cloud, sending it in one or more directions. Some of the lighter particles may remain suspended in the atmosphere for days and travel thousands of miles before landing. But the heaviest particles drop to the ground within 24 hours. These are the most hazardous because they emit the largest amount of nuclear radiation. 100 miles from the explosion, they are about the size of table salt or fine sand. Within an hour, after a massive enemy attack, fallout would begin to be a serious problem in the vicinity of any nuclear ground burst. 7 hours later, the threatened areas cover more and more of the country as prevailing winds expand the fallout in downwind patterns.
You notice where the impact points were, huh?
24 hours, 48 hours, without shelter, millions would face death. Many people have difficulty understanding how silent, invisible rays, which cannot even be felt, could be so damaging. Our bodies are made up of millions of cells. They're the building blocks of our blood and tissues. When radiation penetrates the body, the cells are injured. Most of them can repair themselves if the total dose over a period of time is not too high. But if radiation continues, the cells will be destroyed beyond repair. We measure radiation in Roentgens. If people received more than 200 Roentgens within a few days, many would be sick, and some might require medical care. 300 Roentgens could cause severe radiation sickness, or possibly death. And as we go beyond 300, the danger increases rapidly. But we are not without personal weapons of defense. One is distance. The greater our distance from the fallout particles, the less radiation we receive. Radiation from particles 50 feet away, for instance, would not affect us as much as from particles a few feet away. You would receive less radiation in the middle of a tall building than on the top or bottom floors, because there would be more distance and partitions between you and the source of the radiation, the fallout particles covering the roof and the ground around the building. Only an insignificant amount would get inside. And along with distance, we have the most important defense, mass. Any material with enough weight will keep the penetrating rays from hurting us. Concrete, steel, and heavy construction materials provide good shielding from fallout radiation. And so would 2 feet of earth. And the greater the weight of the material between us and the fallout, the safer we would be. Taking a house as an example, it offers a small amount of mass and distance from radiation, but not enough protection in an area of heavy fallout. The fallout shelter is the best defense, whether in the basement of a single-family home or a large community shelter in, say, an apartment building. It offers the kind of protection from radiation you probably would need in case of nuclear attack. And along with mass and distance, we have a third invaluable ally, time. For deadly as radiation is, it has a fortunate weakness, a rapid rate of decay. Suppose a nuclear explosion takes place at 12 noon. By 1 o'clock, let's assume all the fallout is down. Then the total residual radiation would be at a high level. By 7 o'clock, it's down to 1/10. In 2 days, though still dangerous, it's only 1/100th. But in 2 weeks, it's only 1/1000th. So we would not have to take maximum precautions indefinitely. We need food and water to survive. But if fallout settles on your food, the food itself isn't harmed or made radioactive, since radiation only damages living tissue. You simply remove the fallout particles using everyday methods of food preparation, peeling, wiping, or washing. Fallout swallowed accidentally with food or in drinking water would do you no immediate harm. But for long-term safety, it's best to filter the fallout particles out. Actually, the hazard from contaminated food and water is very small compared with that from external gamma radiation. And hungry or thirsty people or animals should not be denied food and water because of possible contamination. If we remember these facts, if we act on them intelligently, we can increase our chances of surviving nuclear attack. And the key to survival is adequate shelter. That's why the federal government has a nationwide shelter program. The goal is adequate fallout shelter space for every man, woman, and child. And this goal can be reached. For with knowledge of radiation, we can face the facts about fallout and take action to protect ourselves against this hazard of the nuclear.
So I gotta say, the way they used to put together the old videos, uh, actually, it was rather refreshing, right? It was very systemic, and they said, "Look, this is what we are talking about." They showed you a map, they showed graphics, and they said, "Look, this is what could happen over the next X if something occurs." Uh, it's a and coffee. I got two in the uniform right now. Both have already done one deployment. One's about to try to get out. And there goes my little light. Ta-da! I killed it. Heh, there's no light for you. All right, well, I guess we're gonna go au naturel, huh? Um, but that's pretty sad. It's probably People's Republic light. Me and my sarcastic sense of humor. Anyway, um, Amazon product, bad review. But yeah, it that's concerning. my youngest son, had an interesting way of putting it, because he's an MP, but he was assigned to the mechanized cavalry at one point, and he said, if you're gonna go, go willingly, so you can pick what you want to do, and make sure you pass the ASVAB, because that'll mess you up. But it's he said the people he serves with, he says they're solid. He said we could have the damn zombie apocalypse. I got absolute faith in everybody on my team right now, and that's good. I mean, granted, it's danger, but it's good that his team is solid. My other son, he's in a unit that's kind of hybrid, and he's like, we got some dumbasses in this one. So yeah, it's tough, but yeah, it's a concern. Uh, they were Tennessee. They were so well made, and it wasn't meant to freak people out. It was like, here's the danger, here's your plan, and people could move with that. Uh, yeah, no kidding. I don't know about the drawer sniff. And that's another T-shirt, man. I could open a T-shirt shop with Joe's. What Joe says. Um, Praying they don't. Amen to that. No, and true. So coffee, just as a side note, if for whatever reason your boys do enlist or they get called, um, there are very good organizations on Facebook and Instagram, which is families, moms, dads, spouses, who will ship what's needed. Actually, there was one coworker had a son was a Marine recon, and they would get into all sorts of horrendous stuff. And he literally sent us all a message and said, "Hey guys, I need equipment for my boys." And we said, "Well, tell us what they need." We were hitting Army and Navy stores and buying bug out, like they called it. The soldiers called it a bug out bag. It's really a sling bag. We sent them so much stuff, and we actually got a letter back saying that it was came in very useful a couple of times. So hey, the light works again. So if it comes to that, uh, know that there is a circle, there's a community around the service members and their families. Man, they did it for Vietnam, and that wasn't even a declared war. World War II, I get it. Hitler went and tore up Europe, but yeah, yeah, that's a fair assumption too. Is an extended conflict in a very asymmetric one. Yeah, oh, absolutely. And depending on what happens, hell, they'll call the graybeards back. No, what's funny, true story, Coffee, during World War II, uh, they had the draft, all the young men went overseas, the active military went overseas, and then they had nobody in the States to be police officers and home defense or home guard, as the Brits would call it. So what they wound up doing was they called up all the able-bodied men and women who were home, and any who had any kind of responder, military first aid, technical training, and created the home guard, which ultimately morphed into what is now the National Guard and what later became civil defense. It kind of broke, but it became civil defense. But during World War II, out in Corpus Christi, there were volunteers using World War One rifles that had been dug out of like some storage, and they would sit there on little outposts all along the Texas coast looking for German submarines. And California did the same thing, looking for Japanese submarines. So it basically was all hands on deck at that point. And granted, that was a phenomenally bad war. Uh, yeah, and technically speaking, selective service can be implemented uh, theoretically up to age 40 or 45. I don't remember. So, and then also if your prior service unless you're doing a necessary role, energy, manufacturing, police, fire, or civil defense, uh, up to, I think, 40, 45. I may be wrong. You guys may want to fact check me on that one. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think we've done too much of the later and not enough of the former. And this is why we've had this mess all these years. Oz, you absolutely are correct. Honestly, and it's something that was we had talked about a little circle of mine. The last few wars that America, Canada, Australia, Europe, for the most part, have faced. Not Europe, Europe was in the middle of it. The Canadians, Americans, Aussies was our troops went somewhere else. The next one, it's going to come home, and that was something said to me, or I heard who was speaking. Was it Secretary Gates? It was at a conference. He was pointing out, like, back in 2012 that Putin was going to be a problem in about 10 to 15 years. And he literally predicted to the window of time that Putin and his buddies would start causing problems. And he was spot on. We lack those old geopolitical Cold War warriors that we used to have. We're going to create a whole new generation, is what we're going to do. But yeah, the wars went on for extended periods. And truthfully, Oz, if you think about it, was World War II not an extension of World War One with a depression thrown in between them? I mean, you can look at that part of history, 20 different ways. But yeah, no, it's not horses. Although if we EMP the crap out of everybody, then everybody will be on horses. So I don't know, maybe that's a good thing. You can't really go and attack someone else overseas if you only have horses. But yeah, it's scary. It is concerning. So I had another great one for you. Nope, that's not the video I wanted. Hold on just a second. No, that's not what I was looking for. Doggone it. Hang on a second, guys. Here we go. Ooh, that was not what I thought it was, but that's pretty cool, actually. Okay, well, this one's a little bit off the normal path for me, but I was looking for a different video. I tagged it before, but I thought this is neat. Okay, let's share this one. Always forget. Draft would be less popular now than ever. No. Hey. Oh, for sure, for sure. What's going on, Hudson? Welcome, man. Let's see. Let me see if I can get that other one up. Here we go. I found this the other day, and I thought this one was cool. It wasn't what I wanted to talk about tonight, but
some memories, interesting memories of the Cold War and the fears of
can you guys hear that?
winter, nuclear war. The relics of that era are still very much around us. Steve Nielsen brings us a rare look inside the state's Cold War history and a look back at why we might be the most prepared state for a nuclear emergency.
At the height of the Cold War, this was an incredibly important structure. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Phoenix City councilors, would run behind this blast door here to stay safe and keep the government running.
From the top of the butte, it's just a doorway, but down below, it's history.
It's literally built into the side of Papago Butte.
Ron Coleman with the Maricopa County Department of Emergency gave us a tour of the 1950s fallout shelter and the remnants left behind.
Original bandages and supplies are still here.
Gas masks, World War II era cots.
Cases of the original emergency drinking water.
And a bleak reality of surviving nuclear fallout.
If water ran out, or depending on the number of people you had down here, This was a portable toilet.
This is where county and city government would run things during the Cold War if the bomb dropped. Coleman says there's renewed public interest in retired fallout shelters after Russia's president declared a nuclear alert amid the war in Ukraine. Coleman's advice for everyone is the same as the risk for floods or wildfires.
But what we tell people to do is be prepared. Have that go bag ready. Have your prescriptions, have your papers, have those ready that if you needed to evacuate, you'd have a plan and you'd be able to do so.
And this piece of history has actually been transformed into the county emergency offices now. Coleman says their team is more prepared for nuclear fallout than most.
They're trained specifically for radiological fallout situations.
It's thanks to the Palo Verde nuclear generating station. Having America's largest plant state means teams prepare for worst case scenarios.
So if there were to be a situation, we can monitor folks' radiation doses, monitor what's happening to them, and take the action to get them shelter and to keep people safe.
Okay, so let's say there actually is a nuclear fallout in the Phoenix area. What should you do if that happens? Don't come here to the Papago Buttes. This isn't the place to go. What you should do, check your phone. Check local TV like Fox 10. Check local radio. That's where you'll get your best guidance. Steve Nielsen, Fox 10 News.
So I thought that was pretty neat. And actually it's not that far from me. So I've got to make some trips in the coming weeks, in the coming months, second half of the year. And one of which partly requires me to go overseas. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out what can I and can I not bring on the various trips in an airplane or in a car. As it's just what I have to do. And see, Hudson, I'm wondering if the bear is just going to drag all our attention away, and then the dragon's going to go and give us a bite somewhere else. I'm good in New York. Put out a few warning. And that's the sad irony, Coffee, is that this is not like the old days where they would say, hey, you know what? Something's going on. We will tell you guys what's going on so you can act accordingly. Now half of our leaders are clueless. It's been disappointing. We used to have leaders, both parties, who had courage and who had conviction, and now we have oafs, and it's just sad. And actually, Tennessee, that's a great point, brother. If you have not read this book, bear with me here. I think I lost it. Oh, there it is. Ta-da! Oh, it's a long book, though. It's a classic Clancy. Bear and the Dragon. Oh, sorry. There we go. Shit. Well, The Bear and the Dragon. That one's interesting because he could have spun that 3 or 4 different ways. If not, I actually did a video on this one. Hold on. 27. Oh, wrong way. Duh. Hey, X24, what's going on? This one was interesting because this was actually written by General Sir Richard Sheriff, who's the former deputy commander of the Allied forces for NATO in Europe. And he spoke with he went into some details as to what he thought would go on, and some of what has happened, he was not far off. Actually, both CNN and Fox have had this guy on. So, what's up, X24? Hola. The first Saturday, they would test the air raid. See, and we don't do that here, right? They sent the text by accident. After they sent that erroneous text to Hawaii and freaked everyone out, we see how Americans would react now. We're not the same country we used to be, for sure. After they say, something will happen, without a doubt, buddy. So, folks, it's gonna be interesting. Let me see what the So I guess we're going to end the poll, but it looks like the let's see, where was it here? So food collapse being the, or supply chain being the scariest thing, followed by something else which a lot of you had mentioned you were concerned about it being the civil unrest, just chaos coming apart. You may get Jones for sure. Yeah. Oh, that's, hey, off the wall. What's going on? Why do they do that off the wall? That's so, they're so stupid. These, why something else? Yeah, without rule of law. Yeah, it's been, that's one of the things we're all going to have to deal with. And depending on where you are, it can go sideways quick. We don't know. It's kind of scary when you think about it. The riots were a great learning experience for all of us in the preparedness community, even though all of us were not directly involved, because we got to see what worked and what didn't. Um, you remember the LA riots when the riots broke out of the downtown area and then they went into the Korean part of town, and all these Korean shop owners, many of whom were veterans or the children of Korean War veterans, were on their rooftops with rifles. And that shut down a lot of looting because gunfire occurred and all of a sudden it became uninteresting. Um, Portland was a complete garbage pit, but when those same knucklehead rioters went out into the suburbs, left the city, and went into the country to go riot in those subdivisions, and were met with hunters and outdoorsmen and outdoors women with hunting rifles and shotguns, no ARs needed. It stopped. So the one thing I learned, me personally, is that the threat of belligerent force against looting, rioting, and rape is effective. That's just me. Um, I'll probably get a strike for saying that, but I mean, I think it's true. Uh, it's one of those. So much of them. Yeah, and lots of learning experience going on right now. Oh man, that must have been a sight. Hauling wood to my new house, to my new wood house. Sorry, very cool. Batman and Gotham. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and if you hadn't done that, even without firearms, with bats or whatever, you would have been overrun. Um, People don't realize that rioting and civil unrest domestically is absolutely detrimental to a war effort. So if I were a bad guy and I wanted to pick a fight with the US of A, I would destabilize the country. I would screw up their economy, make their money not worth much, mess up their food supply chain, and then create an environment where people are fighting with each other, so that any war effort that that country now has to get into, they're going to have to pull units to move them into domestic roles to take care of rioting and unrest. Uh, there's the alert they put out via text in Missouri. Yeah, so bad people. I believe it. I believe it. We had oh, that pisses me off. Well, I'll tell you what, during Harvey, I don't know, let me see if I can find that guy, because he was on the local news down in Houston, and this guy absolutely cracked me up. Let me see if I can find him. He was in Harvey. Let me see if I can find the guy, because he was quite epic. I mean, he was by himself in a parking lot with a 12 gauge, and he was either a veteran or a cop. Trying to find the guy. Let's see if I can find the video. And Harvey was bad, y'all, but this guy was protecting his store. I can't find him. Man, I'm gonna have to dig for that. No, all right. That might take me a while to find, guys. But yeah, it's yeah, it's been it's been a learning experience the last couple of years. Yeah. Oh wow. I was a quarter mile in Buenos Aires. I was a quarter mile from the riot they had at the presidential palace because of some working situation, and I get a text from the company saying, um, "A riot is broken out by the Capitol. Please proceed to your hotel." And I was literally like 2 blocks from the hotel, so I took my very large beer and my pizza, and I walked to my hotel, and I sat on the concourse and was looking out so I could see the fun, but nothing really happened. So I was sad and happy at the same time. Yeah. And it's true, Oz. The whole fifth column asymmetric war concept, it's very realistic. Yeah, definitely off the wall. Okay, one of the best phrases from the Joker. If you rewatch, that was the second movie with Heath Ledger playing the Joker. What a loss of an actor, by the way. I wish he was still around because he was phenomenal in a lot of roles. But that one was very dark. The first time you watch it, it's like, oh, the Joker. When you watch it the second time, you're like, holy shoot. Yes, we are still on for the board. That should be in a couple of weeks, actually. Hold on a second here. When chips are down, these civilized people would eat each other. Yeah. So let's see what else we have here. So this one I saw, and I thought it was interesting because we did the same thing to Japan, and it precipitated the attack on Pearl Harbor. So I'm going to share this.
And I don't mean this metaphorically, I mean it literally. You see, wars are not just fought for oil, they're fought with oil. You need fuel for your jets, for your aircraft carriers, for your tanks. And that could be a problem for China. First, some basic facts. China is the second largest oil consumer in the world. The US is the first. But unlike the US, China is not energy independent. They make up 13% of global consumption, but only 1.5% of the total reserves. The result is this: China imports a lot. Almost 72% of their oil is bought from abroad. How much is that? More than 11.8 million barrels per day. And remember, this is during peacetime. China last fought a war in 1979 against Vietnam. If another war breaks out, the oil demand will increase. China's 1.4 billion people will need oil. Their warships will need oil. Their factories will need oil. The question is, where will this oil come from? These are China's top sources of crude. Saudi Arabia, 17%, Russia, 15%, Iraq, 10%, Oman, almost 9%, Angola, 7%, and Kuwait, 6%. These are the top 6 sellers. Now, if you look at West Asia, it makes up almost 50.4% of China's imports. Another 6% comes from the US and its Western allies. And now for the most important question. How does this oil reach China? The Russian oil is mostly transported through a pipeline in Siberia, but what about the rest? Almost 60% of China's oil imports are waterborne. They're shipped via sea. And that means going through 3 important choke points. Let me show you on the map. One is the Strait of Hormuz. It is located between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. Almost 21 million barrels pass through this strait every day. The second choke point is this one, the Strait of Malacca. It separates Malaysia and the Indonesian island of Sumatra. If you want to go from West Asia to China, this is the shortest route. Almost 80% of China's seaborne oil passes through here. Cut that off, and Beijing will struggle. In fact, China's leaders have accepted this strategic challenge. In 2003, former President Hu Jintao called it the Malacca Dilemma. And now the final choke point, the Singapore Strait. It is just 19 kilometers long, and it links the Strait of Malacca to the South China Sea. Without that, ships have to take the long way around. Now, what is common about these 3 waterways? For starters, China does not control any of them. But guess who does? The United States Navy. The US Fifth Fleet is stationed in this region. It covers almost 2.5 million square miles of water. That includes the Arabian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Oman, and parts of the Indian Ocean. They've also stationed soldiers in this region. Around 10 military bases in Saudi Arabia, another 10 in Kuwait. Compare that to China. They have 0 military bases in West Asia. The closest one they have is the PLA outpost in Djibouti. Same in the South China Sea. Beijing has territorial disputes with nearly all of Southeast Asia. At the same time, the US keeps patrolling these waters. They're still the dominant Pacific power. So Washington could leverage these choke points. If you cut them off, you cut off China's oil supply. No fuel for jets, no fuel for armored vehicles, and no fuel for warships. It could effectively ground China's war machine. And such blockades have been done before. I can give you at least 2 examples. In World War I, Britain blockaded Germany and Austria-Hungary. The idea was to starve them into submission. In World War II, it was Germany's chance. German U-boats were used to blockade the Atlantic. US war supplies to Britain were gradually choked. So the strategy itself is not new. It has been employed before and with success. Now, from the looks of it, China is the perfect candidate. Is there any way to beat this blockade then? One option is to break through it. Use the PLA Navy to engage with the US military. But that could be a risky operation. After all, Chinese warships are still untested. They're still technologically behind their US peers. So a shooting contest is not in China's interest. The second option is to sidestep the sea. Enter the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. China has been trying to build land links from West Asia to China. The mission was going well until the virus from Wuhan hit it. And since then, it has lost momentum. Where does that leave the Chinese? They could use up their strategic oil reserves. They could also import more from Russia, but how long will that last? Can you really replace 60% of your oil imports overnight? Chances are you can't. Seamless supply lines are key to every war. If it's oil, it's even more crucial. Does that mean it's game over for China? Well, don't forget one thing. This is war we're talking about. There is no saying how things will play out. A lot of factors will decide whether China loses its oil supply. Chief among them is American resolve. How far is the US prepared to go? How much is Joe Biden willing to stake? Because remember, a blockade won't just affect China, it could also affect US allies in the region, countries like Japan and South Korea. If Joe Biden sees Taiwan as another Ukraine, do not expect very much. At best, he'll send weapons, maybe a few warship patrols, but that's it. But if he sees Taiwan as a key strategic interest, the blockade may happen. China's Malacca Dilemma could become the Malacca Nightmare. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
That's a heck of a good breakdown. And it's something, being an energy sector guy, I can absolutely appreciate. Uh, yeah, that may be why they're so interested in going into Afghanistan, which is something I'm going to cover later this week, which just agitates me. That's why they're desperately trying to make deals with Saudi. But in the event of an actual conflict, the US doesn't have to go head to head. They just have to blow up all the pipelines between Russia and China, and there goes what, 20% of the oil overnight. Um, that would encourage them to then do what Japan did in the 30s and go try and attack their neighbors to get their oil. But that can backfire too. Malaysia is not a joke. The irony of China attacking Vietnam is not lost on me, but in desperation, they might do it. The Vietnamese and the Chinese are not getting along so well lately, believe it or not. Actually, Vietnam is getting along better with the U.S. and Japan because they're kind of opening trade and all. So it's interesting. So we hear a lot of this scary stuff, but there's a lot at play, y'all. Um, there's a lot of things going on, and again, I keep going back to history. But this is exactly what wound up happening with Japan, and they even talked about it in that video with the blockades of Germany and then German U-boat blockades of England. Um, that kind of starvation warfare, if you will, has happened before. So it helps inform us and make us understand that we see the doom and gloom on the news, and it's not always truthful. It's a lot more complicated than that, because if it becomes a shooting where all the stops get pulled out, um, but hold on, I lost the and thank you X24. That was, yeah, they be kind of hosed, man. So so how do you insulate yourself? And you guys comment in the chat, how do you insulate yourself if they do it to us? Right? Let's say we start tearing up each other's ports and we try to cut off their oil, they try and cut off our food, whatever the case may be. What do? Maintain your electronics the best you can. Make sure you have antivirus. Don't break your crap, simple things. Uh, get vehicles that will allow you to get parts domestically or from allied nations. Don't be dependent on product from those countries. Have the extra gas for your generator in your shed. Don't forget to stabilize the gas so it doesn't get all screwed up. Stockpile, various types of food, whether it's cornstarch or flour or bread or pastas, whatever the case may be. At whatever it is, and the magic is like repairing. See, and yeah, he was the magic was repairing tractors. I agree, but I think it's been very subtle, and now it's in everyone's face after the Rona. And again, that kind of black swan, that kind of episode, that force majeure, this epic thing that happened and screwed up the world. It wasn't anyone's specific choice to do it. Uh, that will that's the kind of stuff that will upend nations, that would make people start making those kind of decisions that are detrimental to the ones around them. So yeah, look at alternate fuels. Yeah. And Loretta, I'm glad you made it. Loretta's back home, but again, that's another point. I know, granted, that's specifically to Loretta, but getting rest, making sure you relax every now and then, kind of refocus yourself. It's very easy to get psychologically. Oh, hey, Tennessee. Yeah, and it's absolutely an important topic for us to discuss. We need to understand what a foe would do to our countries so that we can prepare accordingly. Because a lot of people won't think like that. They will not, even today, after the Rona, after the riots, after the shutdown, after the election, after all this stuff, they will still not have more than 24 hours of food. That's the "I'm coming to your house" crowd. No, I'm sorry, you're not coming to my house. And that may be an ugly thing to say, but it's true. It You got to take care of the people who you can help and who are trying to help themselves. Um, you know, thought I was her kid. Yes, a lot of people were praying for Loretta, and she's back home and in good spirits. So, not my house. No. So, this is the kind of stuff. This is actionable information, right? Um, start, and that's a great one. I was about to say that. You beat me to it. Well, you do need to get the little niblets of French fry out of it, but you can filter it through a coarse metal strainer, and that oil should work in those like 1970s to 90s vintage like diesel Mercedes cars or the old diesel engines. It should work. Uh, but yeah, folks, I hear that and slowly back away from the convo. Yeah. New cooking oil. Okay. Actually, I saw someone who was using recycled cooking oil they got from McDonald's. They were on television, but they had to go through a very specific filtration process. And what they got out, they could run the car on. Oz, to your point. But they the car smelled like French fries. But the guy said it did work. So, but yeah, cooking oil, clean cooking oil, apparently will work as well as a diesel substitute. So, you know what, Coffee? True story. So, I have 3 kids who are all young adults, and 2 are service members, one's a vet tech, and the oldest and youngest get what I'm doing, and the other one actually apparently during the Rona did not buy food, did not have anything. Like, they were freaking out and on Facebook with their siblings, like, "Oh, we can't find food. Um, we can't find toilet paper." And it's like, you learn nothing. And it's frustrating. And if he sees this, he's probably going to be pissed with me. Dad, what the hell? But it's true. Um, they don't think about it until they have to think about it. And the end of the day, if you do it right, you're going to use your preps anyway. You're going to cycle through them or donate them to the local food bank. It's not going to be something that you bought and will go to waste in the closet. Hell, the stuff I'm buying now, the dehydrated, like the Ready Wise and Augustin Farms, that stuff may outlast me. I already told my kids something happens to me and mom doesn't, you guys don't throw it out, use it or donate. Ooh, that I don't know. So, hey, Vision, welcome. So, folks, use this kind of information to inform yourself and to help you make better decisions about what your scenario will likely be. I did a video with Texas Redleg. We really need to do another one. I need to do another one on basically a SWOT analysis, how to assess threats and the likelihood and give them prioritizing. Because, alien invasion from Mars, is it hypothetically possible? Yes. Is it likely? Well, no, the likelihood's like that. Having a riot in your town and they burn your house, well, that's a lot more likely. So, maybe give folks a way to Hey, Widget, and thanks for joining us. Yeah, they're great, and the ReadyWise stuff is really good. I've done a few videos cooking with them. I have a mix. I have ReadyWise, Augusten Farms. I have some old Mountain House, and then I have MREs. Hey, Rip, welcome. I have some MREs that I'm not sure if they're still good or not. So, because they were issued in Harvey, and after that, I hung up my uniform, so they've been sitting in the closet. I may have to open them up and test, and then I may just salvage like the spices, the Gatorade, the candy, the cookie, and dispose of the meat. I don't know how well the meat's going to hold up. Uh, clog up the engine. Yeah, that's true. Well, there was something to be said about the old style vehicles too. Uh, yeah, yeah. It's frustrating because some people just don't listen. They don't want to hear. Uh, but they'll be the first ones who call you and say, "We want to go to your house," or, "Well, if something happens, I'm coming to you." No, that's not. It's the bugs. Technically, you can eat bugs. Is it awesome? No, not awesome whatsoever. Oh no, it's and you get. It shocks me though that anyone's even giving you a hard time, Magic. And we just had the Rona. I mean, people literally bought all the toilet paper and filled their truck with toilet paper. That's not even pragmatic from a prepping standpoint. And what they did, they gave preparedness people a bad name because they think we're hoarders as opposed to systemic purchasers of things we need over time. And yeah, it just the fact that there's still people who don't understand the value of having. Hell, even if a young family or young couple went and said, "Hey, you know what? We don't have preps, but we have a flashlight, two ponchos, and we have two ReadyWise buckets or two Mountain House buckets in our closet, and we got a bunch of water bottles." Hey, it's a start. That's a start. You did something. But they're like, "No, it's good," and then they have nothing in the fridge, they have nothing in the pantry. And like my daughter saw during the freeze in Houston, people in the neighborhood Facebook group were freaking out. I don't have I don't have milk. I don't have cookies. I don't have whatever for my kids. It's just ridiculous. Hoarder of Cricket Krispies. That's like Meow Wolf. If you haven't looked up Meow Wolf, look up Meow Wolf. That one, that'll give you Arsenal. That'll give you all sorts of new material. Area 15, not 51, 15. Look that up too. That's funny. I've been there. I've physically been to Area 15, and that was a hoot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So I've been stocking since hurricanes years ago, but I guess I was always a prepper because of my dad. But um, it was more like I had enough for a hurricane or a blackout, and then it evolved when I had a family and we got hit by a hurricane and we were shut down on the coast for like a week. And I was like, that's new. They're going to take it to a whole new level now. But yeah, folks, the fact that people still don't get it, you can't help them. It's not being ugly or unchristian. You can't. They're just not willing to listen. Oh yeah, you should fart in their general direction too, like the movie. Um, hey, prepared for. Great micro read that. Oh wait, the chat went by real quick. Hold on. Well, that's cool. Nice. And by the way, don't hesitate to upgrade your pews too if you need to. Right. Or he may be thinking in the back of his mind, well, that's That's your thing. You're in charge of that. So he's not worrying about it because you are, which is possible, which is fine. What was that in the prepper verse? There are good bugs to eat. I mean, you can eat bugs. That would not be high on my list. No, yeah, Facebook went down for like 4 hours or 4 days. I don't remember what the hell it was. People just freaked the hell out. And I'm like, I want to talk to my kids. I just texted them, like, hey, fool, how are you? Um, but yeah, folks, if they're not getting it now after what we've been through for 3 years, and they're like, oh, well, it's over. No, other things happen. A lot of our preps apply to almost every scenario, barring getting hit by a nuke itself. It applies to all these scenarios: the food, the water, the first aid, the pews. If they're not listening, they're not listening, guys. Don't stress over it. You do you. And as long as the people in your circle, your family, your loved ones, they may not understand why you're doing it, but as long as they're not a hindrance, just do your thing. I'm blessed in that I've got a lady in the house who apparently now has a fetish with high-end handguns, which is fine by me. But and that was my own fault. I was like, look at the pretty handguns. And she was like, ooh, look, I can Cerakote them and make them sparkly. And yeah, I created a monster. But you know, when you have someone who's like, don't sell that deer rifle, even though you're not using it because it has value and you may need it, that's always a good thing. So the only insects we should be elected to office. But no, and it's exhausting, Tennessee. It's very exhausting. And see, and for instance, vision, that's a great topic. So, I'm visiting my daughter and her fiance, and we were joking about getting injured at the house, right? And these are two, it's a doctor and a veterinarian, right? And he looks at her and goes, well, if I do get hurt, I'm not worried because your daughter can suture. I mean, humans are mammals just like dogs. She should be fine. And she started laughing. And I thought to myself, you two get it. You two understand we have medical skills, phenomenal medical skills between the two of them. That's a hard thing to come by in an extended mag. Plus, you get, an engineer, some veterans. That's a good mix of people we got in the batch. So, yeah, the ones that get it absolutely get it, and the ones that don't, you're going to make yourself crazy. You're going to make yourself nuts trying to talk to them. Dr. Stitch, premates. That's very cool. Guys, take a note of that. Late to the show. Hey, what's up, Crosshair? But yeah, folks, look, this kind of information's good, right? China's going to hurt if we cut off the oil, and they don't have a navy like we do, right? We can run circles around them. So what are they going to do? They may attack us domestically, maybe sub-attack us, tear up our ports. What would they hurt us with? We have oil and gas here out the wazoo, so that's not going to be it. And Canada has it too. So it's going to be food and equipment. So we can't do much about like parts coming from overseas. You sure as hell can stock food, and take the brunt out of a sudden shortage that occurs. So, but yeah, folks, we're at an hour and 20 minutes. This was supposed to be like an ad hoc last minute live. We're just supposed to goof off, and now we're like at an hour. Anyway, folks, I'm going to call it here, my friends. But look, you guys, don't freak out. When you get new information, the first question you need to ask yourself, can this affect me? What are my options? What is my path to mitigate that threat? Those two questions should pop in your head immediately. They're like, oh, look, we have a chicken shortage. Okay, how does it affect me? We like chicken. What's the what do I do to mitigate? Okay, so I'm going to can chicken, or I'm going to get canned chicken. No pun intended there. Or I'm going to store beef. I'm going to freeze the stuff and put it in the the food saver. Have to cook. See, and that helps. Well, guys, as you know, I wound up in the ER a couple of months ago, partly my own stupidity from dehydrating in the heat. And I was able to pick out what was wrong because I did a Rona test, did the temperature, did the blood pressure, I did home diagnostics, and realized, okay, this is what I have going on. I need to bring this up. So yeah, this is important. Death and taxes. Yeah, no, definitely, Joe. And stop trying to tell me one of them's going to get it, militant. Wait for it. Somebody will be like, they'll have something happen and be like, why didn't you have some food? Why didn't you? Yeah, that's another good recommendation. So, folks, there were a lot of good suggestions. Oz was full of great suggestions today, as was Rip and Tennessee in the chat. So, play this back, watch that video again, and look for those tips. These are great suggestions. But yeah, folks, wait, what is that? Or someone's bearing with it. You know what? You may have been infected, but your body reacted accordingly. So Sassy wound up with the Rona, which I think is the second time. She tested positive. I tested negative. She had the typical symptoms, the nose, the cough, the headache. I sounded like Yoda for 3 days, 4 days. I tested negative, no fever, mild headache. Like my symptoms were absolutely stupid. And I asked a couple of doctors I know, including my son-in-law, or my future son-in-law, and they all told me, they said, somewhere in your genetic pool, somebody in your family experienced this and passed it on to you. And your body goes, oh, I know what this is. And that's why you're not in the hospital. Who knew? Interesting way of looking at it, though. So, to show that from my main channel or this backup channel. Actually, I haven't been watching a lot of videos lately. I've put a few out, and honestly, I've been, and I said that at the beginning. You may have been a little late to when I said it. I've been getting woken up between 10 and 3 in the morning every night for the last 2 weeks with work. And I go through the day a bit zombified. I'll record videos. I haven't caught a lot of videos or lives in a hot minute. So yeah, mea culpa on that one, my friend. But yeah. So but definitely check out Oz's video. And it took me, I saw it and I was like, Oslander Jack, who? Oh, it took me a while to remember that a few videos ago. So yeah, I'm a little bit behind, brother. My asthma doc got one from me when I had the Rona. Got my insurance. Oh, there you go. It could be. It could be, Rip. If you're O positive, they said O positive, O negative tend to be more ancient blood types that have been exposed to more things. I don't know the validity of that explanation, but in any case, boys and girls, I'm going to wrap it up on this one. So don't forget to hit like. Thank you, Vision. Vision beat me to it. Don't forget to hit like on the way out. And there are a lot of creators in the chat, including Oz and Rip, and well, there are a bunch of others. Loretta, there's quite a few. Go check out the chat. Tennessee Tactical, Off the Wall. Go say hi. Go subscribe. Help out your fellow preparedness folks. And I'm going to wrap this one up, guys. This was, like I said, this was supposed to be a 30-minute watch some old Cold War videos, and we just kind of went off on a rabbit hunt. So you guys be good, and please be careful out there. Pay attention, because people are acting absolutely stupid in the streets, and We just don't need to be part of that. So until next time, you guys take care of yourselves.